But let me first begin by speaking a bit about that powerful tendency in all of us, the planning mind. It's just like it is just rolling. I know I mentioned this in Dharma Dialogues the other night. When I used to do Vipassana practice, when that was my primary practice, and I would go to retreats, and sometimes our teachers would say, when you're sitting there, notice whether your thoughts are of the past or of the future. And I was very startled to discover that almost all my thoughts were of the future. I was a future tripper. I'd be sitting there and I would just be gone into the future, which of course is the planning mind. What's going to happen and how is it going to happen and how is it going to work? Almost none of the plans actually really came to be. But the tendency, it's like the Nasruddin story of eating all the hot chili peppers and one after the other and crying and weeping tears. And finally someone says to him, why do you keep doing this? Why are you doing this? And he says, I'm waiting for a sweet one. Well, in a similar way, it's almost like you're constantly reaching out to the future, to the idea of something that might happen in the future, because you're waiting for that sweet moment, that sweet, perfect moment that's going to redeem everything. It's going to make it all worthwhile. It's going to make your suffering have made sense. And it's going to give an excitement to your life, or a sense of purpose, or whatever it is your particular thing is, which you've been waiting and hoping for. One of the things that can really retrain the mind is to let yourself have many perfect moments where you say to yourself, wow, this is really wonderful, this is great, this is a beautiful moment. We've been doing this as a little mini practice here in the last few days, tootling around Hawaii.
Where it's fairly easy to have a perfect moment.
Right, it's true. But we've been noticing them at least.
Yes, exactly.
We've been here before when we didn't notice
Yes,
them.
exactly. We've been here and miserable.
We were here in the 70s, both of us. We were independently going through broken hearts over long-lost loves, who we probably can't even remember their names now. and we managed to make a real misery of this place. We made hell out of heaven. So it's, as we all know, you can do it that way. But it's really fantastic to start to have an entrainment whereby you're saying, I'm going to sample lots of perfect moments today, right? Lots of them. Just sink into it like a snapshot. And I guess the idea would be to start stringing the snapshots together, like those comic books we used to have when we were kids that you flip, and it looks like it's moving. It's all these different still pictures. Because in fact, when you are in a perfect moment, there is a stillness to it. There's a timeless stillness to it. And if this becomes quite habituated, you can start flowing along in a sense that it's mostly perfect moments. And let's leave a little space for there being some difficult moments, some tough moments that aren't so great. I've often spoken about this. The moment you're in the accident, the moment you get the horrible phone call, or a moment that you're in grief over something that is fresh, a fresh tear. Yes?
It might be even more useful to think of not necessarily perfect moments, but moments that are good enough.
Yes.
And those are moments maybe when you're not in pain, you're not in hunger, you're not in fear. They're not ecstatic in the sense of there's great beauty or there's great excitement.
Yeah.
But this is fine.
Yeah.
This is fine. What else do you need?
Yes.
That might be a question you might ask from time to time. What is missing?
What is missing? Yeah. Yeah. And that, I think, what is missing is a driving force for a lot of the planning mind.
For sure.
that, that you have this sense something is missing, and then you've got to go on this big production of effort to get the something missing. But over and over again, we have discovered, and we have been told by the great ones, that the that the hunger is more a state of mind and it's not actually related to the objects that you finally acquire. So you've got to address instead the state of mind, the state of beingness that is thinking that it's so hungry. But why I call them perfect moments is because I feel that in those moments of peace and of saying this is enough, that is the perfect moment.
Yeah.
I don't mean it in terms of that it's
A heightened
yes, that it's
excitement.
not necessarily heightened. It's not that, it doesn't have to be a glamorous, fabulous, you know. I mean, the ones we've been noticing are basic.
Right.
The light playing on the palm fronds, and so
And if you examine, actually, if you examine your planning mind, you realize that often the pleasure of your life comes from the planning, from the anticipation rather than the actual experience when you get there, which is often not quite up to what you had anticipated or what you were hoping.
yes, that's right. Yes. And now in neuroscience, they know that your happy chemicals of your brain, your dopamine and serotonin levels, actually are bumped up higher when you're in anticipation than when you get the object or experience desired. So it's a way to understand all of this and realize your brain has a kind of mind of its own, but that your own place that you keep your perception and your understanding can, to a great degree, override that conditioning. So even if you are someone who is tending to just buzz around in plans, right? It's possible to have that become much more background noise and even perhaps quieted a lot of the time, no matter how strong that habit might have been, and have this predominant sense of living in your beautiful, good enough, or perfect moments as your way of life.